Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering The Hunger Games, Book 2, Catching Fire, Chapters 25 and 26, and a live read of 27. In these chapters, we have got the ingenious electrocution plan from Beatty that looks like it's gonna work. It looks like it's gonna, and then things go awry. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say, who murdered 3. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree where dead men called out for his love to flee? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you?
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn. Awry
Oh.
feels like an understatement.
Okay, so I had you stop reading at chapter
Yeah, you
26.
It's hard.
Was this
hard.
difficult for you?
It was
Oh.
not easy. I contemplated just reading it anyway, and then I was like, "Who am I fooling? I will give myself away in the first 2 minutes."
I can't imagine if you had just tried to go ahead and read it.
And then pretend like I didn't read it.
Yeah, like
Because I am really bad at that sort of thing. I'm not sneaky. I had made a post about it was another episode. I think it was Song of Ice and Fire, where I was like teasing, like trying to trick you into spoiling me. And
right.
listeners were talking about how funny it was, and Reisman made a comment about me sneakily trying to trick you, and I was just like, I'm the least sneaky person ever, and it pains me every day. It is like my least favorite quality about myself is that, like, and I said to him, I was like, that's the reason why I was never the one to buy the weed when I was in my 20s, because I was like, if you send me out to do some sneaky shit, we're all going to jail because I am going to be really bad
the idea
at it.
of like all of your friends being like, "Oh, you sent RoShawn. Oh, he's new.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We didn't warn you. Do not send
Don't
her."
send RoShawn.
She's about to come back with some weird shit now.
Right, I'm coming back with weird shit, and there's gonna be like 4 cops tailing me that I never noticed. And I'm just not. I'm not a sneaky
It's
person.
RoShawn. She's coming back.
Like I am not sneaky. I'm a terrible liar, and these are all things that are supposed to be good qualities, like TM. You know, if you believe in that sort of morality. But I have always considered them to be great burdens that I have to carry. Like being honest to a fault is a burden.
Oh man, I don't know why that is so funny, but just the idea of like that everybody says this is a good thing. Why is my life so much harder? Is like the reality about being a good person.
We should really have a conversation about that shit someday.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we're all ready for it, we should have a real conversation about that shit.
We genuinely are just like, I don't understand. I've done all the things that are allegedly supposed to be good, but my life is bad. How did this happen? That's a real fucking mystery.
It's a real fucking mystery. The math is not mathing on paper.
Indeed it isn't.
I should be doing great. but alas, things are going awry. Alas,
great lack. Anyway, all right. So chapter 25, Katniss wakes up in like a lovely mood. And
I love this.
It's because she had like some makeout time yesterday.
Yeah. And, you know, it would occur to me very late in the game because we talk a lot about how Katniss is like really like hyper self-aware in some areas and then really like laughably confused about shit that seems obvious to us as readers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that has kind of grown on me that I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to is that, so Katniss has been kind of falling in love with Peeta, but she doesn't really have the language to express that. She doesn't seem to really understand that's what's happening.
She really does not.
Right? And it's kind of refreshing because I think in this type of like YA literature especially, and then when you talk about when these things make it to the big screen, and even in small screen with like some of the shows that we all like know and love that have like supposed high schoolers as protagonists, they are so much more self-possessed and aware and mature for like the 16 and 17-year-old they're supposed to be on screen, right? And there's something really refreshing about a teenage girl who hasn't really ever fallen in love before going through that process, but not really understanding that's what's happening. You know, because so often our characters are super hip, you know.
Yes.
And they know all the things, even though you're fucking 17. How do you know anything? You know? So I kind right, how dare you? So I kind of am really into and this made me think about how frustrated you were with Katniss when you first read these books, because of how steeped in like YA that you were at the time. And just being like, girl, how do you not understand what's going on right now? How do you not get the universe that you are inhabiting? But I like that she's just like, I woke up really happy and I just don't understand why, but somehow connected to Peeta. It's a giant mystery.
Yeah, it's really like I have said already how I was walking into this expecting a certain thing and not getting it. And it was this sort of thing that was making me crazy, because in a lot of other YA, the main character seems to be unable to understand the reality of like relationships around her because she is so humble. That's always the theme of it, is like she just has such certainty about her own lack of appeal. That the fact that every boy she meets is in love with her. Yeah, she just never clocks it.
Right.
And I was like feeling it like that was what she was doing with Katniss sometimes. And I'm looking at it now and I'm like, I get why I took it that way. But Katniss is just, she has never had time for this sort of shit. And it's never been a thing that has, you know, when you haven't got to worry about where your next meal is coming from, you can wax romantic and you can think about these things and become very much like it's all about relationships and who you end up with. And she's just not, she never lived in that world. And I just didn't get that. So I was attributing her having no language for what was happening, or like doubting that Peeta actually cared about her. I was taking this as like, oh, here we go. The heroine who has no idea how beautiful and wonderful she is. And I realized this read through, this last one that I did, I was like, oh no, this is just a person who just doesn't think about these things ever.
Right.
And so they start to happen to her, and she's got the understanding of like a present day 9-year-old about a lot of it, you know?
Yeah. The idea that she has gotten to this age of about like 17, I guess at this point, 16 to 17, and her life has been such that she hasn't been afforded the luxury of reveling in this sort of like, does he like me? Do I like him? You know, oh, he's cute, but you know, could we, you know what I mean? Like there's been no time for any of that sort of natural kind of the way that we come into those feelings and we start to learn about ourselves and the people that we're attracted to and trying to navigate all that. That has all been non-existent for her. And for it to show up in her life at what is clearly a very inopportune time. because she is literally fighting for her life. This is not the best time for her to be trying to navigate these emotions. And it starts to make sense why she can't connect the dots. And it just made me have a real kind of like, oh, girl, kind of like real, like truly sort of sympathetic, and just being like, oh, she doesn't know what this is, does she?
Yeah.
Because like, when did she have a chance to learn about this? Like, when was this a thing that she was going to have an opportunity to figure out in a natural sort of growing up kind of way that we would all like to experience it? You know, that just has not been a thing for her. So, yeah.
So she wakes up in this lovely haze, and when she realizes like sort of where she is, she's sort of like, how am I happy? I'm going to be dead like probably by the end of today, tomorrow at the latest. I just have to get back to reality here.
Yeah.
They've gotten another bread delivery.
I want to talk about
rolls
these
from District 3.
This is the same delivery they keep getting. And now I'm starting to wonder. So there were 24 tributes at the beginning of this game.
Right.
And they're sending 24 rolls every time from District 3. And I don't know what connection I'm trying to draw. I just want to say that I clocked it and was like, what is, I feel like there's something, that there's going to be something significant about this sponsorship, this gift that they're getting. I just don't know what it is yet. I don't know if it's like okay, guys, indulge me for 2 seconds.
No.
Please, I beg.
Okay, continue.
For a split second, my brain was like, what if the people in District 3 have decided that they're just going to give enough for everybody every time?
Oh.
Because
how would they share it? Are they supposed to just leave some on the beach?
Well, the thing is like, maybe it's the gift is the statement.
I see what you mean. So it's not like they actually can share it, but it's like, well, we did our part. What you do is your business.
Kind of. Just like, you know, the games are so tightly controlled and the ability to make political statements are practically non-existent. But what if people could get together and pull their resources and say, yeah, we're going to give a gift, and it's going to be a gift for everybody. And even if it doesn't make it to everybody's hands or everybody's mouths, every time the parachute's opened, you will see that us in District 3, we're giving enough for everybody. And that's going to be our sort of, you know, political statement.
Fuck you to the
capital. And
okay.
But you know, but then like, if you start to like try to dig into that, it starts to fall apart, because how could they share it? They're not all going to sit around a campfire, all 24 tributes, and now half of them are dead, so you don't need to keep sending 24. It starts to unravel. But I did have that thought, because I don't know why they keep sending it exactly this way each time. I feel like there's got to be a reason. I just don't know 100% what it is. But I wanted to throw that out there, let you guys know where my brain was, the dark alleys that my brain was wandering down.
So they are splitting up this bread, and as they're doing this, she's like, man, we really are getting to a point where this alliance isn't going to be unsustainable. Yeah. And I have to figure out how I can, you know, keep PETA alive. Like, it feels like they are protecting him, which is weird. And I would like to believe that, but I can't trust it. I don't understand what's happening. I love that she's all awkward around PETA too. They had their makeout sesh and she can't look at him. Bless her. So they do a little swimming lesson here. And as she is doing this, she's realizing that her scabs are peeling off. And they're able to do a whole like sand scrub. And everybody has brand new pink skin underneath.
Yeah.
But there is this moment where she says, the pool is down to 8. I think it's time we took off, to PETA. And he says, all right, how about we just wait till Brutus and Enobaria are dead? I'm pretty sure that's what Beatty's working on. And once they're done, they're dead, then we'll break off. And she agrees, but she isn't super happy about this.
I like that she's just like, she agrees, but she's doing it very like, because I'm super logical. So she's just like, well, it makes sense because if we split off now, that would be 2 different packs of people hunting us. And if we wait until Brutus and Enobaria are dead, then it'll just be Finnick and Joanna after us. And that, it's a better situation for us. But, and then she has this impulse to be like, but if we split up and we leave Beatty with Joanna, she, like, what is her, why would she keep Beatty alive? And then Katniss has to think to herself, I can't save Beatty. I have to be thinking about PETA. There's only one person I can save here, and it can't be Beatty. And there's just a real moment of being like, fuck. Mm-hmm. I have to accept that that's the deal. It has to be PETA. But it's difficult for her to get to that moment. You know, it like pains her to have to sort of, even though this is all in her head, she has to sacrifice Beatty. And it doesn't come easy to her.
I really appreciate how logical she tries to be, but she can't help caring about people.
Yeah.
Every time. So let's see. Finnick goes and gets Joanna, and they talk things through about this trap, and Beatty sort of leads them through it. Like, where would you feel safest if you were them? And they're like, well, where we are on the beach. And he's like, right, but they can't be here because we're here. What would they do to make sure that they had a handle on things? They'd be close by watching us to know where we are and to see what we eat and what's safe. And he says,
I love this.
That the noon and midnight lightning bolt.
Y'all.
He's like, what I think we need to do is run this really dope wire that I fucking invented because I'm a genius.
Right?
Down from the tree into the water and light them bitches up, basically.
Beatty is on his Doc Brown, and I'm here for it. He is, and it's like a fuse, like I said, it's like a fuse.
That's true. When he said something about it being like a fuse, I thought that there was something ringing a bell, and it's you said that. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But he's going to do the Doc Brown thing. He's going to run this fucking wire up to the fucking clock tower, wait for the lightning strike to hit it, and power it, and move the DeLorean back to 1988.
And there you have it, folks. I don't know why I'm even reading her this last chapter. She already knows what happens.
But it's a really, really cool idea that he has. Using a lightning strike, like you said, to electrify the beach, assuming Enobaria and Brutus are going to go down there once they leave, and just light those motherfuckers up. It is ingenious. It is such an ambitious plan. And where I had to stop reading, it, as you said, went awry, and I was devastated because I wanted to see this shit, and I wanted to see it work. I was so excited to see how this would pan out, and that it gets interrupted by I'm not sure who. Katniss thinks she knows, but I don't think she's right. But
can I tell you who plays Beatty in the movie?
Sure. It's a spoiler.
Jeffrey
so
Wright.
I'm all here. Are you for real? I love him so much.
I know.
Excuse me. I didn't know he was in these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. I would cry if I saw the movie and he's Beatty, and because excuse me, I have the hiccups. Things don't look great for Beatty at the end of the chapter where I had to stop reading. And if it was Jeffrey Wright the movie, I would cry.
Have you seen the trailer for American Fiction?
I have seen all the trailers. I want to see it desperately, but I don't go to the movies. But I really, really
it's the kind of movie that, like, I almost feel like I don't need to see it because the trailer tells you like the story. That's the thing with trailers for me lately. Is like they tell you too much.
Yeah.
But
did you ever see Bamboozled? You ever watch that?
What was it?
Have you ever watched Bamboozled? Spike Lee's movie?
No.
Ooh, we should watch that. Yeah, you should watch that. It's a similar sort of concept of like leaning into stereotypes and then having it be wildly successful in a way that you become uncomfortable with. Yeah, you should check it out.
Oh boy.
But anyway.
But yeah, so Jeffrey Wright as Beatty, it's just really something. Sometimes this doesn't happen, but there are times where somebody being cast feels so correct that I just imagine them for the rest of my life every time I read a thing. And he's one of them. I just see him in my head now for Beatty. It's just immovable.
I love it. He's going to be in my head now too.
So yeah, he's like, and also there's going to have been that big wave, which will have made the whole beach wet. So even if they're not in the water, they're going to be in contact with enough water. It's still going to fry their asses. However, it's also going to kill all the seafood.
Oh yeah. That's just going to be a wrap.
Which is a bummer. Yeah.
It's going to suck for them, but on the plus side, it will also eliminate the food source for the careers. So
yep.
I like too that they were like, well, this is our last night with all this great food, so let's just like have a feast.
Yes. Unfortunately, there's the vomiting later, and I was just like, oh, what a waste, what a shame. But you know, what can we do?
And I do want to just mention quickly that without getting into like the long drawn out part of Beatty explaining how his plan's going to work, I love the thing where it's like none of us are smart enough to ask any real questions, and we all kind of feel like students, like he's a teacher, but not in a gross way. Like he's not being a dick. There's just like the way Katniss relays it, there's an immense amount of respect for just how smart Beatty is. Like she's not resentful that they don't understand what he's talking about. She's just like, he's a man who has got like a million bigger, more complex things going on in his brain than the little shit that I'm talking about right now. But it's done with such affection. You know, it's never like, oh, who does he think he's talking to? Why is he talking to me like I'm stupid? Or why is he talking to me like a child? It's just very much like, it feels like I'm in school. And then there's a moment where like he needs to work it out a little bit. So he kind of like just tells everybody to like go find other shit to do. And she's like, it feels like we got dismissed out of school early. We get a free period.
So yeah, they agree to try it. And there's, like you said, with the questions, like they're like, are you sure this wire's going to do the job? Like, how do you know? And he's like, oh, well, I invented this wire. Yeah, it'll do it. Yeah. And everybody's like, it just completely withers them with this.
Like all the air gets sucked out of the sails, right? They're just like, oh, okay. He's like, and by the way, it's not really wire. And everybody is like, okay.
Have you watched What We Do in the Shadows?
I've watched some of it on your recommendation.
There's a point where somebody's giving somebody else a necklace back because they're breaking up. And they say, I hope you didn't pay too much for it. It gave me a rash, so it must be made out of some really cheap metal. And he says, oh, it's not metal. And then just puts it away. It's just such a creepy line. Like, you never find out what the fuck it is. And it's just kind of reminded me of that. Like, it's not wire. And, you know, all of us fucking lay people are like, it looks like wire. Like, there's nothing to be said about it.
I love to be.
I also...
Oh, go ahead. You
go ahead. No,
I was just gonna say he's like when he's talking about how the wire's not wire. He's like, and the lightning's not lightning, and the tree is not a tree.
I forgot he does that. He even is like, Joanna, you know trees. Wouldn't the tree have been destroyed by now? And she's like, yeah. She's
like she's all salty.
Sullen. Oh my God. So there's a moment where they tell him like, oh, Katniss can hear the force field.
Oh my God, this is so good. He's
and
like,
Katniss
word?
is like, yeah, through that thing in the year that, and she can tell he is not buying it, but he also doesn't contradict her or anything.
Nope. He lets it ride.
I don't know why, but I just love the fact that he's like, I mean, if that's how you want to play this, I don't get why, but sure.
Do too, right? Like, because like he could have been a dick about it and been like, well, these are all the reasons why. This is bullshit. And he's just like, nah, there's no reason. There's no need. And just lets her go first.
So she does her thing going ahead of them, throwing nuts ahead. It's like, if you can hear it, why you gotta throw these nuts, Candace? But, you know, whatever. And we divide up the duties. Finnick guards Beetee while he examines the tree. Joanna taps for water. Peeta gathers nuts, and I hunt nearby. And they're able to catch some food pretty easily here. She finally finds the force field, and Beetee, let's see, in a few moments it returns to its original color because it is glowing when it lands. And Beetee says, that explains a lot.
And everybody is like,
Peeta
does it?
and can't help biting my lip to keep from laughing since it explains absolutely nothing to anyone but Beetee. I love that so much. It's just like, really oh good. Yeah, okay, this all makes sense now. And they're like,
and everybody like, does
great,
it?
Glad to hear it.
Are you sure? We will all just take your word for it. And meanwhile, there's this clicking that we had heard in the last chapters is getting louder. And people are just like,
me no likey the clicking.
So what is that? And Beetee is like, well, it's not mechanical. And Katniss is like, insects? Maybe beetles? And Finnick is like, something with pincers. And I'm just like, y'all are having a very calm conversation about some shit that you should be much more excitable about.
Right? Run. Like, go, please. Get out of there. I know that they're not in your section, but like, for now, I just don't like everybody just standing around discussing it in this
Joanna is like, we should get out of here. And I said, yes, you should.
Ugh, no, thank you. Just she's like, Katniss is like, I have a feeling whatever we're hearing could strip the flesh from our bones in minutes. Jesus, and I'm like, can you just stop? Ugh.
Yeah, like I really hoped that because there was only one chapter left for you to read, that we never actually find out what the fuck is going on with that. I would be really okay with never ever encountering whatever that is.
Eek.
Would not feel cheated at all.
There are some things that I think work better if you don't ever get to see them. They're much scarier.
Between whatever it was that left that body in pieces and these things, and they might be the same thing. I can't remember like the workout or the clock, but I feel like there's two different areas. One area was just called Beast. Like if I don't see that and I don't see the insects, me and Suzanne Collins are okay.
Hey.
No beef whatsoever.
Well, we'll see. And this bit, when they do the like feast thing, Peeta finds a pearl in one of the oysters.
This is so funny.
And he does when a piece of coal has enough pressure put on it, it turns into pearls. And like they get the joke, but Finnick's just going, no, it doesn't. I like to imagine somewhere Effie watching this and not understanding why they're like giggling so bad and then realizing her mistake.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Oh,
we know
that's
you meant
amazing.
well, girl, but
that is, you know what? Sometimes I forget about the people that are watching this. Like I will think of Katniss's family at home watching, because I'm thinking of Katniss, but I often forget about people like Effie watching. And you're right. That's an amazing moment to think of her somewhere like watching this, probably with friends or like not Senna, obviously, because of the horror that happened, but somewhere watching this and being like, wait, what did I say wrong? Like, why are they all laughing?
And PETA gives her this pearl, and she takes it with enough solemnity that he sees immediately, oh fuck, and he just says, the locket didn't work, did it?
Yeah.
And she says, no, it worked. And he's like,
he says it in front of everybody too, like not even like taking her aside. He just says that shit out loud in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody really says anything, or at least Katniss doesn't talk about anybody having a reaction to this moment. But yeah. And after this thing with the pearl, PETA doesn't look at her again.
Yeah. It really is like both of them are just so set and determined.
Yeah.
To have things their way. And it's just tough, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm rooting for Katniss most because I'm in her head. Mm-hmm. But I can't help but think like, I don't really want you to win though. I don't want you to die. I don't like that either. And PETA being sort of like, if I die, it's not as bad as if you die. I get the logic of that, but you know, it's true, but he shouldn't say it like that sort of vibe.
It's like the book has managed to, and this is not surprising, but they have got us in this position where it really does feel like it can only be one of them. And like being in Katniss's POV, you kind of want what she wants, but also being in her POV makes you want her to be the one who survives.
Yes.
And the tension between those two things is really, really high. It's a testament to the writing, I think, that we've gotten to this point so close to the end of the book where you're just like, well, fuck, I don't know what to root for because both outcomes are awful. Like, what do I do? And we had that tension in the first book, and then we got, you know, that surprise, like, you know, halfway through the games where it was like, oh, there are going to be two victors. And then you're like, oh, that relieves the tension. But I don't anticipate a twist like that again. So I don't know what the fuck we're going to do. I really don't.
Well, so yeah, she keeps the pearl and they have this amazing feast. And she says, I have the pearl secured in a parachute with the spile and the medicine at my waist. I hope it makes it back to District 12. Surely my mother and Prim will know to return it to PETA before they bury my body. And then we go to 26. Nobody has died today, so there's an anthem, but there's no pictures in the sky. They clean up everything and then begin to head into the jungle. And it says, the work on the trunk's completed just as we hear the wave begin. And Beatty reveals the rest of the plan. Since we move swiftly through the trees, he wants Joanna and me to take the coil down through the jungle, unwinding the wire as we go. We are to lay it across the 12 o'clock beach and drop the metal spool with whatever's left deep into the water, making sure it sinks. Then run for the jungle. If we go now, right now, we should make it to safety. And PETA instantly is like, I'm going with them. And Beatty's like, not only are you not going with them, but we're not even arguing. We do not have time for this. You are slow and loud, and we can't have it. And I really felt for PETA because he shuts him down like so completely.
Yeah, there's like no wiggle room. There's like no opportunity to like counter, you know.
Yeah.
Because he's right. Like, what is PETA going to say? Oh, no, I have two good legs? No, you don't. We all know you don't. So
that's fucked up.
I mean, listen, I didn't write it. But that's, you know, and they just have to fucking take it. And yeah, so the girls go down and I cannot express to you guys how certain I was that this was going to work. Because in my mind, Brutus and Enobia dying,
and Obaria.
and Obaria dying, would not be the end of the story. We still have Finnick and Joanna to deal with. So I thought that this was just going to happen, and that we would then move on to dealing with like the rest of the crew that's left behind. I was so unprepared.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. She and Joanna go down into the jungle. They're unspooling it. Things seem to be going pretty smoothly. And then when she passes it to Katniss, there's this like vibration that runs through the wire. And as they watch, one end of it comes curling toward them because it's been cut somehow.
You can just hear the twang, and it just fucking starts like unraveling towards them, spinning all fast. And I was just like, what the fuck is this?
So she's about to reach for her arrows, and something smashes into her head, and she is on the ground and trying to get her vision back to normal when she feels a stab and realizes that Joanna has her like pressed down and is digging her knife into her arm.
Yeah.
And does it like it goes deep.
This, can I tell you what I think this is?
Ooh, tell me.
Is she digging out that tracker thing that's in her arm?
Ooh,
I don't know. I don't know why she would be doing that. But if Katniss is knocked out, or at least knocked down, she took a crack to the head.
She'll get back up again. So sorry, everybody. RoShawn and I just had this talk before we started about,
and yet
sorry.
Here we are.
And here we are.
Because she could have just like stabbed her anywhere and made it a fatal blow, and she doesn't. She goes digging around in her arm. Bad though. Like Katniss is bleeding all over the fucking place. So I'm not trying to like minimize the wound itself, but it just seems like if Joanna was trying to take her out, once you crack her in the head with the cylinder, the next thing you do is smash her head open with one of your axes, or if you're going to use your knife, you fucking stab her in the chest or something. And she doesn't do that. She's digging in her arm. So I was like, that's not what it looks like. And the only thing I could think of was the weirdo tracking device thing that they implant in them. But I don't have any theories past why she would be digging out of her arm and like what her end goal would be. I got nothing when it comes to that part.
Well. So, and she's yelling at her, stay down. And Katniss is just discombobulated. She doesn't know what's going on. She's barely able to like conceive of the fact that Joanna is doing this, and remembering her screaming at Wiress to stay down. And she's like, I'm not Wiress though. Like it's all sure her brain is just rattled.
Yeah. And then she can hear
and then
Brutus
she hears
yell.
them coming. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, she just hears Brutus yell, she's good as dead. Come on, and is it Enobaria? Enobaria.
There you go. That's it. Yep.
But Katniss is assuming that they're talking about her. But I was like, what if they're talking about Joanna? What if something happened to Joanna? And that's who they're talking about. But I don't know. There's a lot happening, and I don't know what any of it is.
Katniss decides that this means Joanna has betrayed her. And as far as she's concerned, it's a wrap on the alliance.
Oh, yeah.
And so she begins to freak out because she's left Peeta alone and is starting to think now, like, this kid is defenseless. And
it's not just Joanna. It's Joanna and Finnick are in cahoots now. And she's left Peeta with Finnick and Beetee. Yeah.
Cahoots.
You guys know how I love that word.
Oh, that's a good one. I only know that I must get back to Peeta and keep him alive. It takes every ounce of will I have to push up into a sitting position and drag myself up the side of a tree to my feet. And she's looking around trying to figure out how bad her arm is. She just patches it with some moss, but she's bleeding really, really bad. And she realizes no cannon has fired, so he has to still be alive. And she's like, well, I can't trust Finnick. I don't know about Beatty, but I'm going to have to get back to them. And she sees Finnick coming and hides. And he's yelling for her and for Joanna.
Mm-hmm.
And she does not let him know that she's there. And there was a part of me at this point that I was not buying that they had like turned on her. And I wanted her to tell him where she was so bad, because I was like,
I did too.
You know, I just Katniss leaps to the worst conclusions a lot of the time. And I just have a tendency to not agree with her is really what it comes down to.
Like her thinking, if Joanna's turned on me, I can no longer trust Finnick. Like in her situation, that's probably not such a stretch, you know, to think. Mm-hmm. But as a reader, I was like, girl, no, tell him where you are. But
yeah,
I would probably also be dead in the first day of the game. We've already said that a couple times, so don't like to me.
And she manages to get back. She does hear a cannon boom at this point, and she's like, it could literally be anybody, because she can feel the vibe in the air it's a free-for-all now.
Mm-hmm.
Such chaos has begun that everybody is probably going to be in such a defensive posture, they'll kill without knowing why, and later on be like, ooh, maybe they were still on my side or not, who knows, it's too late. Which I do kind of appreciate her, like, that's also the vibe I was getting as a reader. It's just like all bets are off at this point. I don't like it, but that's what it feels like.
Once she goes down and we don't know exactly what's happened, and we see Joanna is cutting her with a knife, and we don't know who has died when the cannon goes off. And she's right, like, everybody is going to be in such disarray that people are going to just be kind of like every man for himself.
Mm-hmm.
I just I don't like it.
Right.
I don't like it. It's such a quick change, and it happened in such a way that I wasn't expecting, that I was really like upended this chapter, and was just like, I don't know what anybody is doing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, she manages to get back up to where Beatty is, and she finds him in such a state that you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he isn't. It says he's not conscious, although I can see no wound except a gash below the crook of his elbow. I grab a nearby handful of moss and clumsily wrap it while I try to rouse him. Beatty, what's going on? Who cut you? Beatty. I shake him in the way you should never shake an injured person, but I don't know what else to do.
I felt that
so
hard.
He has a knife, and she sees that it's like wrapped in wire, and she picks it up and is like, it's connected to the tree. Wait, what? I don't get what, this isn't part of the plan. It takes me a moment to remember the second, much shorter strand that Beatty wound around a branch and left on the ground before he even began his design on the tree. I'd thought it had some electrical significance, had been set aside to be used later, but it never was, because there's probably a good 25 yards here. And she realizes they're right near the force field. And she's like, did he get knocked out trying to push the knife into the force fields? Is that why he's injured here? Like, she's just not understanding what even happened to him. It doesn't look like he got bashed on the head the way that she did.
Mm-hmm. And then she's also wondering, like, what she's thinking, was this Beatty's backup plan in case his other plan didn't work? And then she's like, what would happen if he meant to send lightning bolt into the force field? What would that even fucking do? She's like, would it do nothing? Would it do a lot? Would it fucking fry all of us? And she starts thinking about the force field, and she's trying to put the pieces together, but they're not like clicking, what he was trying to do. And she says that this force field seems to somehow mirror the jungle, but I've seen it falter when Peeta's knife struck it, and when my arrow hit, the real world lies right behind it.
Yeah.
And then she gets like, not distracted from this train of thought, but like she's just not doing great. So her mind goes other places.
Yeah, and she hears Katniss calling, or Peeta calling for her, yelling Katniss. I can't protect him. I can't move fast or far, and my shooting abilities are questionable at best. I do the one thing I can to draw the attackers away from him and over to me, and start screaming Peeta because she's trying to, distract them. I can hear them coming, 2 of them. And Enobaria and Finnick reach the lightning tree. They can't see me, sitting above them on the slope, my skin camouflaged in ointment. I home in on Enobaria's neck. With any luck, when I kill her, Finnick will duck behind the tree for cover just as the lightning bolt strikes, and it will be any second. There's only a faint insect click here and there. I can kill them now. I can kill them both. Another cannon. And so we're really, shit's happening now.
Yeah, shit's really going down, and we don't know what any of it is, and I hate it.
Yeah. So she's thinking, then I'll be able to deal with these, and then I'll have one enemy. And all of a sudden, she remembers the way that Haymitch said, when you're in the arena, you just remember who the enemy is. That's all. And she's like, what does that mean? I always have known who the enemy is, who starves and tortures and kills us in the arena, who will soon kill everyone I love. My bow drops as his meaning registers. Yes, I know who the enemy is, and it's not Enobaria. I finally see Beatty's knife with clear eyes. My shaking hands slide the wire from the hilt, wind it around the arrow just above the feathers, and secure it with a knot picked up in training. I rise, turning to the force field, fully revealing myself, but no longer caring. And she just shoots that
she does.
Right into the fucking force field as the lightning strikes. A flash of white runs up the wire, and that shit just lights up.
Yeah. My eyes strain to capture one last image of beauty to take with me. Right before the explosion begins, I find a star, and I have no idea what the fuck that is.
All right. So now we're doing 27. Are you ready?
I am. I'm going to close my book.
Yay. Everything seems to erupt at once. The earth explodes into showers of dirt and plant matter. Trees burst into flames. Even the sky fills with brightly colored blossoms of light. I can't think why the sky's being bombed until I realize the game makers are shooting off fireworks up there, while the real destruction occurs on the ground, just in case it's not fun watching the obliteration of the arena and the remaining tributes, or perhaps to illuminate our gory ends. Will they let anyone survive? Will there be a victor of the 75th Hunger Games? Maybe not. After all, what is this quarter quell but what was it the president read from the card? A reminder to the rebels that even the strongest among them cannot overcome the power of the capital. Not even the strongest of the strong will triumph. Perhaps they never intended to have a victor in these games at all. Or perhaps my final act of rebellion forced their hand. I'm sorry, Peeta, I think. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. Save him? More likely I stole his last chance at life, condemned him by destroying the force field. Maybe if we had all played by the rules, they might have let him live. The hovercraft materializes above me without warning. If it was quiet and a mockingjay perched close at hand, I would have heard the jungle go silent and then the bird's call that precedes the appearance of the capital's aircraft. But my ears could never make out anything so delicate in this bombardment. The claw drops from the underside until it's directly overhead. The metal talons slide under me. I want to scream, run, smash my way out of it, but I'm frozen, helpless to do anything but fervently hope I'll die before I reach the shadowy figures awaiting me above. They have not spared my life to crown me victor, but to make my death as slow and public as possible. My worst fears are confirmed when the face that greets me inside the hovercraft belongs to Plutarch Heavensby, head game maker. What a mess I have made of his beautiful games with the clever ticking clock in the field of victors. He will suffer for his failure, probably lose his life, but not before he sees me punished. His hand reaches for me, I think to strike me, but he does something worse. With his thumb and his forefinger, he slides my eyelids shut, sentencing me to the vulnerability of darkness. They can do anything to me now, and I will not even see it coming. My heart pounds so hard, the blood begins to stream from beneath my soaked moss bandage. My thoughts grow foggy. Possibly, I can bleed to death before they can revive me after all. In my mind, I whisper a thank you to Joanna Mason for the excellent wound she inflicted as I black out. When I swim back into semi-consciousness, I can feel I'm lying on a padded table. There's the pinching sensation of tubes in my left arm. They're trying to keep me alive, because if I slide quietly, privately into death, it will be a victory. I'm still largely unable to move, open my eyelids, raise my head. But my right arm has regained a little motion. It flops across my body, feeling like a flipper. No, something less animated, like a club. I have no real motor coordination. No proof that I even still have fingers, yet I manage to swing my arm around until I rip the tubes out. A beeping goes off, but I can't stay awake to find out who it will summon. The next time I surface, my hands are tied down to the table, the tubes back in my arm. I can open my eyes and lift my head slightly, though. I'm in a large room with low ceilings and a silvery light. There are 2 rows of beds facing each other. I can hear the breathing of what I assume are my fellow victors. Directly across from me, I see Beatty with about 10 different machines hooked up to him. Just let us die, I scream in my mind. I slam my head back hard on the table and go out again. When I finally, truly wake up, the restraints are gone. I raise my hand and find I have fingers that can move at my command again. I push myself to a sitting position and hold on to the padded table until the room settles into focus. My left arm is bandaged, but the tubes dangle off stands by the bed. I'm alone except for Beatty, who still lies in front of me, being sustained by his army of machines. Where are the others, then? Peta, Finnick, Enobaria, and one more, right? Either Joanna or Chaff or Brutus was still alive when the bombs began. I'm sure they'll want to make an example of us all, but where have they taken them? Moved them from hospital to prison? Peta, I whisper. I so wanted to protect him, and still resolved to. Since I failed to keep him safe in life, I must find him, kill him now before the capital gets to choose the agonizing means of his death.
No.
I slide my legs off the table and look around for a weapon. There are a few syringes sealed in sterile plastic on a table near Beatty's bed. Perfect. All I'll need is air and a clear shot at one of his veins. I pause for a moment, considering killing Beatty. But if I do, the monitors will start beeping and I'll be caught before I get to Peta. I make a silent promise to return and finish him off if I can. I'm naked except for a thin nightgown, so I slip the syringe under the bandage that covers the wound on my arm. There are no guards at the door. No doubt I'm miles beneath the training center, or in some capital stronghold, and the possibility of my escape is non-existent. It doesn't matter, I'm not escaping, just finishing a job. I creep down a narrow hallway to a metal door that stands slightly ajar. Someone is behind it. I take out the syringe and grip it in my hand, flattening myself against the wall. I listen to the voices inside. Communications are down in 7, 10, and 12, but 11 has control of transportation now, so there's at least a hope of getting them some food out. Plutarch Heavensby, I think. Although I've only really spoken with him once. A hoarse voice asks a question. No, I'm sorry. There's no way I can get you to 4. But I've given special orders for her retrieval if possible. It's the best I can do, Finnick. Finnick. My mind struggles to make sense of the conversation, of the fact that it's taking place between Plutarch Heavensby and Finnick. Is he so near and dear to the capital that he'll be excused for his crimes, or did he really have no idea what Beatty intended? He croaks out something else, something heavy with despair. Don't be stupid. That's the worst thing you could do. Get her killed for sure. As long as you're alive, they'll keep her alive for bait, says Hamish.
Wait, what?
Says Hamish.
Hamish? I'm sorry.
I bang through the door and stumble into the room. Hamish, Plutarch, and a very beat-up Finnick sit around a table laid with a meal no one is eating. Daylight streams in the curved windows, and in the distance I see the top of a forest of trees. We are flying. Done knocking yourself out, sweetheart? Says Hamish, the annoyance clear in his voice. But as I careen forward, he steps up and catches my wrist, steadying me. He looks at my hand. So, it's you and a syringe against the capital. See, this is why no one lets you make the plans. I stare at him uncomprehendingly. Drop it. I feel the pressure increase on my right wrist until my hand is forced to open it, and I release the syringe. He settles me in a chair next to Finnick. Plutarch puts a bowl of broth in front of me. A roll. Slips a spoon into my hand. Eat, he says, in a much kinder voice than Hamish used. Hamish sits directly in front of me. Katniss, I'm going to explain what happened, and I don't want you to ask any questions until I'm through. Do you understand? I nod numbly. And this is what he tells me. There was a plan to break us out of the arena from the moment the quell was announced. The victor tributes from 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 11 had varying degrees of knowledge about it. Plutarch Heavensby has been, for several years, part of an undercover group aiming to overthrow the capital.
Shut up!
He made sure the wire was among the weapons. Beatty was in charge of blowing a hole in the force field. The bread we received in the arena was code for the time of the rescue. The district where the bread originated...
I was so wrong. I mean, I was right, but I was wrong.
The district where the bread originated indicated the day, 3. The number of rolls, the hour, 24. The hovercraft belongs to District 13. Bonnie and Twill, the women I met in the woods from 8, were right about its existence and its defense capabilities.
My God.
We are currently on a very roundabout journey to District 13. Meanwhile, most of the districts in Panem are in full-scale rebellion. Hamish stops to see if I am following, or maybe he's done for the moment. It's an awful lot to take in,
God.
this elaborate plan in which I was a piece, just as I was meant to be a piece in the Hunger Games, used without consent, without knowledge. At least in the Hunger Games, I knew I was being played with. My supposed friends have been a lot more secretive. You didn't tell me? My voice is as ragged as Finnick's. Neither you nor Peeta were told. We couldn't risk it, says Plutarch. I was even worried you might mention my indiscretion with the watch during the games. He pulls out his pocket watch and runs his thumb across the crystal, lighting up the Mockingjay. Of course, when I showed you this, I was merely tipping you off about the arena, as a mentor. I thought it might be a first step toward gaining your trust. I never dreamed you'd be a tribute again. I still don't understand why Peeta and I weren't let in on the plan, I say. Because once the force field blew, you'd be the first ones they'd try to capture, and the less you knew, the better, says Hamish. The first ones? Why? I say, trying to hang on to the train of thought. For the same reason the rest of us agreed to die to keep you alive, says Finnick. No, Joanna tried to kill me. Joanna knocked you out to cut the tracker from your arm and lead Brutus and Enobaria away from you.
Oh, shit.
You got one. You got one. What? My head aches so, and I want them to stop talking in circles. I don't know what you're... We had to save you, because you're the Mockingjay, Katniss, says Plutarch. While you live, the revolution lives. The bird, the pin, the song, the berries, the watch, the cracker, the dress that burst into flames. I am the Mockingjay, the one that survived despite the Capitol's plans, the symbol of the rebellion. It's what I suspected in the woods when I found Bonnie and Twill escaping, though I never really understood the magnitude, but then I wasn't meant to understand. I think of Haymitch's sneering at my plans to flee District 12, start my own uprising, even the very notion that District 13 could exist. Subterfuges and deceptions. And if he could do that, behind his mask of sarcasm and drunkenness, so convincingly and for so long, what else has he lied about?
That's a good fucking question.
Peeta, I whisper, my heart sinking. The others kept Peeta alive because if he died, we knew there'd be no keeping you in an alliance, says Haymitch, and we couldn't risk leaving you unprotected. His words are matter of fact, his expression unchanged, but he can't hide the tinge of gray that colors his face. Where is Peeta? I hiss at him. He was picked up by the Capitol along with Joanna and Enobaria.
Oh, no!
Haymitch. And finally, he has the decency to drop his gaze. Technically, I am unarmed, but no one should ever underestimate the harm that fingernails can do, especially if the target is unprepared. I lunge across the table and rake mine down Haymitch's face, causing blood to flow and damage to one eye. Then we are both screaming terrible, terrible things at each other. And Finnick is trying to drag me out, and I know it's all Haymitch can do not to rip me apart. But I'm the Mockingjay. I'm the Mockingjay, and it's too hard keeping me alive as it is. Other hands help Finnick, and I'm back on the table, my body restrained, my wrists tied down. So I slam my head in fury again and again against the table. A needle pokes my arm, and my head hurts so badly I stop fighting and simply wail in a horrible, dying animal way until my voice gives out. The drug causes sedation, not sleep, so I'm trapped in a fuzzy, dully aching misery for what seems like always. They reinsert their tubes and talk to me in soothing voices that never reach me. All I can think of is Peeta, lying on a similar table somewhere, while they try to break him for information he doesn't even have. Katniss, I'm sorry. Finnick's voice comes from the bed next to me and slips into my consciousness. Perhaps because we're in the same kind of pain. I wanted to go back for him and Joanna, but I couldn't move. I don't answer. Finnick O'Dare's good intentions mean less than nothing. It's better for him than Joanna. They'll figure out he doesn't know anything pretty fast, and they won't kill him if they think they can use him against you, says Finnick. Like bait, I say to the ceiling. Like how they'll use Annie for bait, Finnick? Ooh. I can hear him weeping, but I don't care. They probably won't even bother to question her. She's so far gone. Gone right off the deep end years ago in her games. There's a good chance I'm headed in the same direction. Maybe I'm already going crazy and no one has the heart to tell me. I feel crazy enough. I wish she was dead, he says. I wish they were all dead, and we were too. It would be best.
Jesus.
Well, there's no good response to that. I can hardly dispute it, since I was walking around with a syringe to kill Peeta when I found them. Do I really want him dead? What I want is to have him back. But I'll never get him back now. Even if the rebel forces could somehow overthrow the Capitol, You can be sure President Snow's last act would be to cut Peeta's throat. No, I will never get him back. So then, dead is best. But will Peeta know that? Or will he keep fighting? He's so strong and such a good liar. Does he think he has a chance of surviving? Does he even care if he does? He wasn't planning on it anyway. He already had signed off on life. Maybe if he knows I was rescued, he's even happy. Feels he fulfilled his mission to keep me alive. I think I hate him even more than I do Haymitch.
Oh.
I give up. Stop speaking, responding, refuse food and water. They can pump whatever they want into my arm, but it takes more than that to keep a person going when she's lost the will to live. I even have a funny notion that if I do die, maybe Peeta will be allowed to live. Not as a free person, but as an Avox or something, waiting on the future tributes of District 12. Then maybe he could find some way to escape. My death could, in fact, still save him. If it can't, no matter. It's enough to die of spite. To punish Haymitch, who, of all the people in this rotting world, has turned Peeta and me into pieces in his games. I trusted him. I put what was precious in Haymitch's hands, and he has betrayed me. See, this is why no one lets you make the plans, he'd said. That's true. No one in their right mind would let me make the plans because I obviously can't tell a friend from an enemy. A lot of people come by to talk to me, but I make all their words sound like the clicking of the insects in the jungle. Meaningless and distant. Dangerous, but only if approached. Whenever the words start to become distinct, I moan until they give me more painkiller, and that fixes things right up. Until one time, I open my eyes and find someone I cannot block out looking down at me. Someone who will not plead or explain or think he can alter my design with entreaties because he alone really knows how I operate. Gale, I whisper.
How?
Hey, Catnip. He reaches down and pushes a strand of hair out of my eyes. One side of his face has been burned fairly recently. His arm is in a sling, and I can see bandages under his miner's shirt. What has happened to him? How is he even here? Something very bad has happened back home. It is not so much a question of forgetting Peeta as remembering the others. All it takes is one look at Gale, and they come surging into the present, demanding to be acknowledged. Prim? I gasp. She's alive, so is your mother. I got them out in time, he says. They're not in District 12? I ask. After the games, they sent in planes. Dropped fire bombs. He hesitates.
Shit.
Well, you know what happened to the Hob. I do. I saw it go up. That old warehouse embedded with coal dust. The whole district's covered with the stuff. A new kind of horror begins to rise up inside me as I imagine firebombs hitting the seam. They're not in District 12, I repeat, as if saying it will somehow fend off the truth. Katniss, Gale says softly. I recognize that voice. It's the same one he uses to approach wounded animals before he delivers a death blow. I instinctively raise my hands to block his words, but he catches it and holds on tightly. Don't, I whisper. But Gale is not one to keep secrets from me. Katniss, there is no District 12.
What?
End of Book 2.
Oh my god, it ends there?
Yep.
What? What? What?
I know.
Holy shit.
I
What?
know. Yeah.
What the what? What? That was a lot of information for a last chapter. To have no other chapters following, that seems unfair. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Okay. Okay, everybody calm down. Okay, everybody. Let's just settle.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a minute. So they just fucking wiped off District 12 off the map.
Yep.
They just fucking got rid of, just bombed them to oblivion. Which apparently is a thing we do in real time. FYI, y'all, if you're not paying attention, it's a thing that we're doing right now.
And as she mentions, it's coated in this coal dust that will make it just go up like a torch. It's just not, it wouldn't burn the way an ordinary bomb drop would burn anywhere else. It would do so much more damage.
Oh my God. So they had this plan. The plan that they had from the beginning is so much more involved than anything that I was even imagining. Talking about having an alliance, and they really were protecting her and PETA, and they really were sacrificing their own lives to keep them alive. And everybody except the careers from 1 and 2 were in on it. And clearly, they don't go into it in this chapter, but I think it's fair to say if they got to a point where they were willing to sacrifice themselves, people were fucking fed up and tired and ready to fucking be about that action. Yeah. And fucking, what the fuck else? There was so much just now. There was so much.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's a really dense ending chapter.
Jesus Christ. What else? This, the fucking biscuits, the bread from District 3.
Yes, the rolls.
My God. My God, this hovercraft that picks them up. District 13 is a real place. It exists. It really does exist.
And apparently Hamish fucking knew by the time.
This whole time.
She talked to him about it. So
and
yeah.
he was just
that
like,
was a complete put on. Like, oh, you're just desperate. That's what desperate people say.
And she's so angry at Hamish, and like, I get it, right? Because he was like basically her family in a way by the time they get to the arena the second time, and I get why he's lying to her. Like, I get it, right? I'm not saying Hamish is the bad guy, but she's so angry, and you know what? I kind of get it. And I'm not loving this feeling that the way she feels so betrayed, and like, it's one thing to be just a pawn of the Capitol, but to have somebody that was so close to you also to be using you in this way, my brain is like going 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Holy shit. PETA did not get out.
I know.
Oh.
That's
my God.
Real bad one.
This thing that she says to Finnick about Annie, and he seems so broken when he says that it would be best if they were all just dead. Like, oh my God. I am so glad that I'm reading this in the time when the book is done, so I don't have to wait.
I know, right?
This must have been excruciating to wait for the third book to come out the way this ends. It must have been awful.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. And they have their own hovercraft. When that hovercraft came to pick her up, I was like, oh my God.
I was wondering what you were thinking. What did you think was going on?
I thought that because she broke the sort of the force field, that they just sent in and snatched everybody up. That was my thinking.
Ah, gotcha.
They just
like ended the games.
Just ended the games, like cut to, that emergency broadcasting signal, or like the little graphic you used to get back in the day when like your local station was experiencing technical difficulties, and there'd be like a little guy with like sparks coming out of his head because the computer's not working or whatever the fuck. He's like really angry. And I just figured they went and scooped everybody up. That was the Capitol getting everybody who was still alive up out of the arena and taking them to their own like secure location. But when did Hamish do? I mean, I know like, all right, there's a lot of time where we don't see Hamish off because we're in Katniss's POV. So there's a lot of time for Hamish to be getting into all sorts of shenanigans because we don't know what he's doing. But
indeed,
but fucking Heavensby being like for the resistance, like this whole time that he's in the Capitol, like double agent shit. This is wild. Oh my God. And we got confirmation that when he shows her his stopwatch, he he had no idea that she was going to be a tribute again. And we knew that, but still, it was a weird interaction that she had. So I'm glad that was addressed.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't remember
Oh,
that he says, "I didn't know you'd be a tribute." So I had kind of wondered if he knew and had organized this
right.
like about her.
Yeah, yeah,
Basically.
yeah. Oh my God. This is, you guys, I am like torn between being really excited because they're in open rebellion now. And
Hmm.
that's kind of like what we wanted to see.
Right.
But also they're in open rebellion and the Capitol has PETA. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And they have Joanna, who I don't now, especially because I know that she was like on our side, air quotes, that they have her is very upsetting. Oh my God. Mm, wow. And this whole idea that she would serve the resistance better dead as a martyr, and they're all just like, no. It's you. It's fucking you.
We need you. Mm-hmm.
You don't get to just be out of this. We need you for like the fucking long term. Jesus Christ. And the fact that they were willing to just completely wipe out a whole district with all those people in it.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
they were, Jesus Christ, what are we dealing with here? My God.
Yeah, he was able to get them out in time, but he doesn't say how many he got out. Like,
No, he does not. And he looks in
how
bad
many.
shape.
Yeah, he's got a burn on his face and like, if not a broken arm, he's in a sling, and other bandages.
And like he would have
Yeah.
had to have, in order to get them out, I guess he would have had to get them on the other side of the fence into some sort of like rendezvous point where they could be picked up. But like, when did he have time to like coordinate with anybody to accomplish? I have so many questions.
Maybe he didn't coordinate. Maybe they just knew, oh, they're going to go after 12 immediately. And they like
Holy
preemptively had people in place just looking for, people in the woods, like
And
fleeing.
I'm assuming they go after 12 after she does the force field thing, right? I
That
don't
is
know.
my assumption.
I don't know that to be true, but that's my assumption as well. So I don't know if she's like, I don't want her to feel guilty about that, but also how can she not like bear that burden of like, my action resulted in this overreaction from the Capitol to all of those innocent people at my home. Her friend Madge. Oh,
Yeah.
you guys, this has escalated.
Yeah, that's the word. Indeed.
I cannot fucking wait to get into this third book. Oh my God. I can't wait. I'm probably going to read it tomorrow. Probably read the first couple chapters tomorrow before I read Song of Ice and Fire.
You better be careful because I haven't done the reading breakdown, so don't overread.
All right. Well, I'll just all right. I'll do you a solid and I'll sleep in tomorrow. I won't read tomorrow. I'll give you a chance to figure out what you want to do. Holy shit.
Yeah.
This is so good.
I am really glad that I decided to do the live read on this because I hadn't intended it and I didn't think of it until like the last second. And I was sort of worried that because the chapter before ends with her destroying the force field. And I felt like, is that enough of a reveal that she's going to start to figure everything else out? And so a live read is redundant almost,
Yeah, no.
But
no.
When I stepped back, I was like, no, that doesn't really tell you anything. So.
No, not at all. Like what I was expecting was like, so she shoots the arrow into the force field and it disintegrates and then it sort of exposes the arena for what it really is, which is a man-made man-controlled environment, and that everything that happens there is at the direction of the people who are pushing the buttons. And so that it would be kind of like I'm at home watching the Hunger Games on my TV because it's mandatory viewing, and then the force field goes down. And because when the game is set up and you're in the arena, right, when you're home watching, you feel like it's real. They're really in a canyon, they're really in the jungle, whatever. And that if suddenly all of the facade fell away and you got to see it for what it really is, which is like I think I made a reference to like the holodeck in the first book podcast, then people at home watching would suddenly be confronted with the reality of what the games are, which is just man-made mayhem and pain for no reason other than like entertainment. And that would be sort of like a catalyst for people at home watching to be like, oh, this is utter bullshit. And I don't know what it looked like to people viewing because we don't really get that. So I don't know what it looked like to people who are watching when this moment happens with the force field. And I'm really curious. I don't know if we ever get that perspective, but that's all that I was thinking. I wasn't thinking anything along the lines of Rebels, District 13, Haymitch having this master plan. I wasn't thinking of any of that shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I can't wait to start reading the next book. I'm so excited.
What do you think the next book looks like?
Well, I figure, we're going to get like some real like rebellion type shit. Like they're going to touch down eventually at District 13 and we're going to meet the other people who have been fighting for freedom. And it's going to be about trying to save our faves, and trying to coordinate the various rebellions into some sort of like consolidated, organized movement towards, or against the Capitol and what that looks like. But like what war looks like this is something that I've been thinking about, and I don't want to get too off topic, but I think for me, I can't speak for other people, but when I hear the word war, right, it conjures imagery of like equally, how can I say what I'm trying to say? It conjures visions of like equally matched parties combating, right?
Right.
Like you think of like World War I or World War II, or you get this big entity fighting this other equally matched entity. But we know that that's not really how people use the word war. Like we're talking now in current time about a war, against Hamas, for example, right? And that is not equally matched in by any metric. So when I think about like a war against the Capitol is going to have all the resources, all the firepower, the ability to bomb districts into oblivion. And how do they fight that? But we also know from history that there have been lots of cases where the so-called underdog prevails.
Yeah.
So we do know that that's possible, but the tactics are always like we frame their tactics as somehow being dishonorable. We call it guerrilla warfare, or we call it terrorism, or whatever we call it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think. That's what I'm picturing the next book is going to be, how these people who are outmatched when it comes to firepower, as far as I know, because but there's that rumor about District 13 and the nuclear power that they have, and I don't know how much of that is going to be real, but my assumption is going to be that this is going to be like scrappy underdogs trying to go against an all-powerful entity in the Capitol.
It says Bonnie and Twill, the women I met in the woods from 8, were right about District 13's existence and its defense capabilities.
Okay, there it is. Oof. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be so good. I can't wait, you guys. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
This
I
is
am I'm really interested in how you react to the third book, because there are many divided opinions about it.
oh, okay.
And I get why. Like, there's some of it I love, and there's some of it that I don't like, but also I feel like that's the point. Like, it's not that I don't like it because it's not well written. It's just like, well, yeah, things do suck sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I feel like her, like, clearly right now anyway, you know, her focus is on PETA, and I feel like that's going to carry over into the next book, but I don't know if she saves PETA. I don't know if that's a thing. You know, that might be a great loss that happens that I would just be devastated by. I mean, when in this last chapter, when you were reading and she's talking about he's gone, you know, she's not going to ever get him back. That was hard to hear.
Yeah.
Especially because we were just talking earlier about how, like, she's falling in love with him, but she doesn't really have the words for it. But if she's just getting to the point where she's realizing just how much he means to her and how much she cares about him, and that she's lost him and she may have lost him really forever, that is heartbreaking. I would like a happier ending, but I'm not sure if we're going to get it. We'll see, I guess. But my goodness, Hamish, like, you're just supposed to be a stumbling drunk who was, like, good for practically nothing,
right?
And you're out here putting together, like, how long is this play? Like, if Heavensby has been a double agent for a long time, like, how long has this relationship between Hamish and Heavensby been understood? Like, wow,
that's a good question.
Wow, I just Wow.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am, because I'm really enjoying this.
What how, like, out of 10, how surprised are you by the way this ended?
I am fucking blown away. I am 10 out of 10.
Hey.
Didn't see this whole, none of this was on my radar at all. Couldn't have called it.
What's funny is that in the first book, you were like, well, where's the edge of the arena? Like, what if they just got, like, out of the arena, like in the tunnels or things? And I was like, oh, like, that's kind of not what they do eventually. Like, you know what I mean? Just one of those things where it was Jim Halperding at the camera while you were talking.
This is just
not
like,
they don't wind up in tunnels, but, like, you know, they're finding the edge of it. That's the whole thing. Especially after fucking Hamish's way of winning and him using the force field the way that he did. Like, is he the reason they figured out how to do it this way? I mean,
when Beatty says, I invented this wire, I was like, huh. Well, that's a really lucky thing that worked out for you. But it just, like, the idea that it was there because Beatty could use it in this way. I didn't give it a lot of thought, but I definitely had a moment of being like, well, isn't that lucky? But he said it so matter of factly that I felt kind of like an asshole for thinking twice about it, because Beatty was just like,
he's just a genius whose inventions are a part of everybody's everyday life. So
right, like, yeah. I was like, well, he said it. I was like, the rest of them, like, well, if Beatty said it, it must just be what it is. Like, you're like, who? Like, I'm not smart enough to be asking Beatty follow-up question.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, I'm delighted with the
well done,
the fact that you didn't see it coming, because you had been wanting everybody to join hands and
Listen.
see who the real enemy is, the way that Hamish says.
I
kept thinking you would start to be like, maybe that is happening.
Well, because every time I wanted that to be the thing, it would feel like I was being ridiculous, Like and there's a couple of times in the book where, like, when Finnick is like, "Oh, do you think we're all just gonna like hold hands and like sing Kumbaya or whatever Finnick says?" And I'm like, "Well, goddamn, I'm called out. Like, you didn't have to do me like that. You don't even know me." But so every time I would start to get that sort of inclination, in the text, it would be like, "Please be for real." Be for real. And so I would back away from it. Oh, wow.
How about Katniss scratching Hamish's eyes out?
Listen,
she doesn't actually scratch his eye, but she makes a good try.
I am sad that I will probably die without ever scratching anybody's face and drawing blood. I really I am sad for myself that that's not something I get to experience in life, because it's a thing that you see on TV all the time where a woman she's so enraged, she just scratches somebody's eyes out. She's such fear, and I have that kind of fury and rage in me, but I've never taken it out on somebody's face in that manner. And I feel like that window was closing, and I'm sad for me about that. So I was glad that she got that.
I believe you could scratch somebody's eyes out. Never stop believing in yourself. Yeah, it's in your future.
So I was really glad that she got to do that. And now Hamish is going to walk around with some scars on his face probably. And you know what? Sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck.
But also, they were right not to tell her.
Look, this
She's
is
got
the
no
thing,
poker,
right?
She's got no poker face. They couldn't have told either
None.
her or Peter. They could not have told her or Peter any of this.
Yeah. Yep. Like, I understand being so angry about it. I really get it. Also, though,
it was the right thing to do.
Be so fucking for real.
Be for
real. Are
you
ever going to be able to carry off this kind of plan without your nerves just absolutely wrecking you? All she had to do was convince the world that her and Peter were really in love, and she's already half in love already with him. And she was like sweating bullets because she was freaking out all the time over it. Yep. I'm sorry, but
Peter maybe would have been able to manage it for the cameras, but he wouldn't have been able to manage it face to face with Katniss. You know what I mean? So that's why they had to keep him in the dark. Like, he could have pulled it off, but he would have broke on his one-on-ones with Katniss, and that would have fucked them. So yeah, they had to keep him in the dark too. Oh, she's so mad. She's so mad.
She's so mad. She feels used. And like, when they're like, well, you're the Mockingjay, like, she should feel used. They're just like, you're a symbol we need.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just saying it in words.
Basically, it's not even really about her as a person anymore. And that has got to be a horrible feeling, to be like, people aren't considering me as an actual living human being. I was a symbol for the Capitol, and now I'm a symbol for the resistance. When do I get to be like a person? And that begs a larger question, like, what's more important? Like, to be a symbol of a movement fighting oppression is hella important, but is it more important than the agency of the individual? Like, when does the sacrifice become like worth it? Like, when does it become okay?
If it's a sacrifice they're making because they're sacrificing, but if somebody else is sacrificing it on their behalf,
making the choice
count
for
as
you.
A sacrifice? Like,
yep.
Yeah, it being fucking conned.
It does. It brings up a lot of really interesting questions, where you're just being used by all sides, and she has such a hard time trusting as it is. She's so defensive and so protective, and she lets her guard down and lets these people in like Hamish, and then granted, like, big picture, Hamish is right, but small picture, you fucked her. and she trusted you.
Mm-hmm.
She like tried to
Mm-hmm.
care for you when you were drunk and didn't have anything that, you know, when you were at your lowest. We thought, at least, I don't know if he was at his lowest at all. Now I don't know what the fuck to think about Hamish, but
True.
it appeared like he was at his lowest, and she was there taking care of him, her and Peter both. Yeah, man, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Ugh. I cannot wait to get into this third book. I'm looking at it right now. It's on my bookshelf, and I'm just eyeing it at the corner of my eye.
Oh my God. I'll have to work on the fucking like reading breakdown tomorrow and get it done really
Yeah,
quickly.
please do.
I'm gonna do my best.
Well, there's not going to be anything in the first chapters that you want to read out loud, so I should be good for the first 2 chapters.
I don't know that, ma'am.
Okay. All right,
I'm gonna have to check on that.
Okay.
For all I know, the first chapter opens with like some major death. I don't even remember.
All right. I'll give you some time.
Give me
not a lot of time.
Give me a vague what do you think is going to happen to PETA?
Well, so the thing about PETA is, if they convince him that he can save Katniss by doing their bidding, he'll do that.
Mm.
And he's very good. We know he's very, very good with the cameras. So if they try to make him be some sort of voice of calm, some voice of let's trust the Capitol, and he becomes sort of a figurehead of like the status quo, I could see that happening. I could see him agreeing to do that if they behind the scenes are promising her safety in some regard, you know?
Yeah.
And then you'll have PETA as the voice and the figurehead of the Capitol, and Katniss as the opposition. And, you know, then you have like your star-crossed lovers, you know, now on opposite sides. And I could see the Capitol wanting to play that up, but I don't know how much everybody would believe that. I think PETA could really sell it, but I don't know how effective he would be, if that makes sense, you know?
Effective in terms of like
in terms of like really quelling the uprising.
Get it?
Like, oh my God.
Sorry,
That's so funny.
Sorry.
The quarter quell. We're gonna quell all that uprising shit. They should have just called it that.
They really thought. Bitches, you thought.
But yeah, I can see him being like giving very like impassioned pleas for like peace and calm, and the Capitol has always had our best interests at heart, and now is not the time to be, you know, trying to change things, and these rebels are trying to ruin everything for all of us, and meanwhile Katniss is on the other side, on the underground, you know, as the sort of symbol of fighting back, and then they become sort of opposed in the public eye, at least.
Right, yeah.
Or they don't use them for any of that, and they just hold them, like she said, is just sort of like leverage over her, and just sort of like try to demand that she, I don't know what they would want from her. I think at this point it's well past just turning herself in. They would need her to do like a complete retraction of everything she stood for, you know? But if they promise her PETA's safety, I feel like she would be tempted to do it. And maybe it would take the other people, Finnick and Haymitch and Heavensby and Finnick. I said Finnick already. Who else is left? Gale, you know, to tell her not to do it. But I think her impulse would be to do anything to save PETA.
So you agree that as long as they need to manipulate her, PETA will be kept alive? You're not worried that he's going to be killed?
I am concerned that if PETA doesn't cooperate with them, that they definitely will kill him. And in any kind of like rescue mission that she has planned for Peeta might fail. I don't know if Peeta makes it out of the third book. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah. And also it sucks to say, but like, you know, sometimes in these type of books, you got to have like a big death team. And we haven't had one. We've had like a hard one with like Rue, and we've seen like people that we've met that we like die, like Mags and YRS. But like big death TM would be like Prim, her mom, Gail, Peeta, Haymitch. Those would be like big deaths. And we haven't had any of those.
Give me. Let's say so. We have Prim, her mom, Gail, Peeta, Haymitch. Those 5. Give me those names in order of likelihood that you think they'll die.
I don't know if I can do them back in order, but
who do you think's the most likely to die out of the 5 of them?
Oh shit, the most likely? Peeta and Gail.
Okay. Least likely?
It better fucking be Prim.
Okay. Why? Just because she's an innocent child and it's horrible?
Just because we already lost Rue, and Prim would just be too much.
Yeah.
If Prim dies, and Prim is with her, right? So she's, air quotes, relatively safe.
Yeah, Prim got out with Gail.
You know, I'm mostly concerned for Peeta because he's the one in the most immediate danger. But I don't know how things unfold in the third book, so danger could be all around. It better not be fucking Prim, though. That's all I'm saying. Better not be Prim. That's just too much. It's too much. Too much, Suzanne Collins. Calm down.
All right, folks. Well, I'm gonna do for this book the very last of the. Thank you so much to new patrons Philip and Victoria Moore. Woo! Thank you guys so much. Appreciate your support. If you are interested in becoming a patron, go to patreon.com/unspoiled. And also, FYI, everybody, I have let my website lapse. This is my farewell to my website sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some people got in touch, but this is on purpose, kids. Because I have so much content, it was so many gigs of storage that I was paying hundreds of dollars a month to keep the site going. And it simply wasn't getting that much traffic. There are some people who are like diehards always using the site. And to you, I apologize. You were the rare ones. And otherwise, I've decided to just pretty much put things on Patreon. And if you are a patron, you can get access to all of those playlists and everything. But I am not going to be able to like, everything is more expensive. I'm not the only one going through this. And income has dropped. Prices are going up. I am needing to cut corners where I can. And the website was just a significant drain on my monthly income for very, very little reward. And this is just probably going to be the way that I work going forward, is solely from Patreon. It's just so much easier to only worry about one site and uploading only to one place, and everything being automated as far as who can like access it and who can't. And I don't even have to think about it. So that's what's going on there. So if you are wondering where stuff's gone, patreon.com/unspoiled, become a patron at $5, get access to a bunch of stuff. $10 get a postcard every month, and $20 get an extra show, 2 extra shows per month, one with me and RoShawn and one with me and one of my other co-hosts, depending on who can join me. The one I'm recording tomorrow night with Chris Tex, aka Money, is going to be about adulting and the general needing to do things to take care of ourselves as grown-ups that can feel like we're really being put upon sometimes, even though this is just part of life. Does it have to be? Does it need to be this way? Sometimes it does. Sometimes we need to make dinner so that we can eat dinner and not die of starvation. And then there are things that it feels very much like it doesn't have to be this way. And I'm really looking forward to finding out what Chris Tex's adulting list looks like in comparison to mine, because they're going to be very different. We live very different lives. So that is one of the unsobers. And then the other one that RoShawn and I are doing at the end of the month on the 24th is hats, which I'm very excited about.
We couldn't remember it was bowling that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we're probably going to do bowling next month. I'm excited that we even have like a topic already for next month, because every month it's sort of like, all right, what are we doing this time? So bowling for March. It's a new movie that's coming out. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to be talking about hats, historical hats, present day hats, men's hats, women's hats, non-binary hats. And, also on the 17th is going to be the book club, where we are going to be talking about, and this is not a recording for those who aren't aware, we're doing a witchy book club, and we're doing once a month a live get together on Discord where we use voice chat and talk about a book we've read that we all voted on. And the one that we're doing this time is the Grimoire of the Thorn-Blooded Witch. And it's a really weird book that I have been having a lot of fun reading. And I have decided that since I clearly have such an unfair advantage, anytime I suggest, maybe we should do this one next month, my book that I suggest wins. Because I'm the host and, I have an unfair advantage. So after this book, which was the one that I suggested, I will be recusing myself from suggesting books for the book club. And thus it will be a more egalitarian system, hopefully. And I'm just enjoying the book club thing. It was fun last time we covered The Green Witch, and there was a lot that we didn't like about it, but then there were a lot of things that, I've got raised beds now, guys. That shit got to me. So, here I am. But yeah, so if you're interested in that, go to the Discord. I put the link to the Discord in the show notes, and just come and explore the different channels. There's all kinds of stuff. People talking about pets. We've got channels for books and TV that aren't covered by the show. We've got spoiler channels for everything, and then non-spoiler channels if you're reading along. The Discord is a very lovely place to be once you get used to how it's set up, because you can turn off the channels that you don't care about and only get notifications for somebody tagging you directly or for channels that you have a particular interest in. And it makes it so that you can really tailor your experience there. And it's only people that are cool, because that's all I let in. Well, asterisk who I think are cool. I don't know what your opinion is. But yeah, so that's everything. And don't forget, even if you can't support us with money, you can still go to patreon.com/unspoiled and follow us for free, and at least get the updates that I post there. Anytime that there's something going on, I am posting there, and pretty much only there unless I am able to fit it in. But Patreon is the place that I am hoping everybody will be able to just get information from now on, and that I don't need to use the bulk poster to all 5 social media platforms in order for people to hopefully see it. If you want guaranteed notifications, Patreon's the place to be. All right, everybody. Thank you again so much. I hope you enjoyed this live read and RoShawn's reactions. Until next time. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say he murdered 3. Strange things that happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree where dead man called out for his love to free? Strange things that happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
Unspoiled Network podcast.
And you're gonna do the live read, right? So I stopped reading.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I was right to do it, even though it was hard. It's very hard. Very, very
I was
hard.
right to do it.
Sorry.
My goodness.
That's how I feel inside. I'm so sorry that you had to hear that. My apologies.
That was funny, though.
That's I try to save that for my alone time, but it just kind of got away from me.
I'm just gonna lay here and moan.
Excuse me, 1 second. 1 second.
I like to kind of
All
try
right.
and imitate a gremlin at the same time as I clear my throat. You know how they sound?
Wait, like how what sounds?
A gremlin?
Oh, yeah. That's right. They do sound like that. Okay. All right. Serious business. I'm ready. I'm going to hit record. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm recording. I actually hit record a while back. So
Okay.
we've got some fun content if I want to plug it in at the end of the episode after the credits.